All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Vibin Higher Podcast. As always, I am your host, Trevor, and this is actually going to be coming out on Christmas Day, so I definitely wanted to start off by wishing everybody a safe and happy holidays. And today I spoke with Jack and Savannah behind California Consciousness. My original focus with them was just to kind of profile what they're doing with that, which in itself is truly amazing. The conversation kind of took on a life of its own, though. As you'll see, these two are awesome, and I really think that you guys will enjoy listening to it as much as I did recording it. So, without further ado, here's our podcast with Jack and Savannah from California Consciousness. All right, Jack and Savannah, first of all, I'd just like to thank you guys for joining us for a little Christmas Eve podcast today. Thank you for taking your time, out of the holiday schedule to join me and kind of get some information out there to everybody about what you guys are doing. Firstly, I just kind of like to start with maybe a little bit of background on the both of you for our audience, if you guys just kind of want to give a little introduction.
Perfect. Right, so my name is Jack, and I met Savannah about 3 or 4 years ago now in Huntington Beach, California.
Okay.
We instantly connected. It was a spiritual connection for sure. We knew something was different about this type of relationship, and we definitely couldn't keep each other out of our minds. So we had a long-term relationship over the internet for maybe 7 months, and we spoke in that time almost every day for at least 2 or 3 hours a day. It wasn't until I came out here to California that I knew for sure that I was going to be spending the rest of my life with this woman. So we hit it off pretty well from day one and haven't left each other's side since.
Right on.
It's been a pretty powerful connection. And we both knew we'd laugh and joke together and say, when we come together, we're going to change the world. We're such powerful entities. And
that's the attitude everybody needs to have. Right on.
Humbled. So we decided what we're going to do, how we're going to change the world. Where do you begin? Of course, where do you begin?
That is the question.
So obviously, and many people do this. So I'm not claiming that anything about us is unique, or obviously we just try to do our bit. There's nothing special about us, and we just decided to try and make a clothing line at first. We were putting some ideas together. And we liked cannabis, like many of the listeners, I'm sure.
Of course.
We're big users of cannabis, and I used to laugh and joke and call it a gateway drug and say it is a gateway drug. It totally is. It's a gateway drug to higher consciousness.
Right. That's probably why it's a Schedule 1 drug as far as the feds are concerned.
Definitely, it makes you question things that you maybe wouldn't question.
Yeah.
Authority.
Of course.
So with that in mind, to higher consciousness, THC was the abbreviation.
Oh yeah, I noticed that as well.
Thank you. That's the name that we decided to go with for our clothing line.
Okay, so I noticed that you guys had the blog, which I definitely recommend to people. It's tohigherconsciousness.com, right?
That's right. Yeah.
You guys got a lot of good writing on there, by the way. So I definitely recommend that to people. But you guys started off with a clothing line, huh?
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, that's awesome. I actually had a friend that was on the podcast recently that kind of started off doing that.
Yeah, we wanted to try to find a way to make consciousness like badass at the time. I feel like those were the exact words that we used. And as we just kept learning as much as we could about all things consciousness and spirituality, it really changed things for us. And this was back in 2012 when the whole shift began. So it just so happened to correlate with everything that we were doing. We started going further and further down the rabbit hole. And as we started learning more, Jack really took over and started posting a lot on his Instagram to higher consciousness, and we started meeting all these interesting people through that. And really, after that, we were still trying to push the clothing line. We were we just need to keep to higher consciousness going because it's waking people up. We kept thinking that it had to be through the clothing aspect, but
yeah, no, that's awesome. Whatever avenue you can take, I think.
Yeah, and so we just kept doing that. We kept getting inspired, and for me, my name's Savvy or Savannah, and I started getting into yoga. I love yoga, everything about it, and just began to practice it a lot and realized I wanted to teach it because it was something I was so passionate about. So I had the opportunity to go to India to get certified in Rishikesh and stayed in an ashram at the bottom of the Himalayas. Wow. And so then I feel like when Two Higher Consciousness was really beginning, like Jack was really learning as much as he could, like expanding his consciousness through reading and through many other avenues. And I was doing.
Now speak freely.
Yeah. But it really wasn't until I went to India and like really learned about meditation and like spirituality, and brought like a whole new aspect back with me, and we just kind of like kept growing. And then Jack started getting deeper into creating the website of like Two Higher Consciousness, and that's when all the blogs started happening. And then I created my website, yogasavvy.us. And I kind of blog on there as well. And then Jack started meeting these. Once we came back to California, we were in England at the time, Jack started to meet our friend Dre, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we came back to California after a year in England. Uh-huh. And it was a different type of year than what we were used to. I was studying hard.
2012?
This is more 2013 now. Yeah.
Or 13, 14.
I kind of stepped away from a passion, which was blogging and writing and creating clothing, because I was very distracted by my degree. I was finishing my degree in animal behavior.
It's funny that you said that, dude, because I'm finishing my degree right now. I'm basically done, but yeah, I took a huge break from the website today, which is and was my passion. Just, I definitely feel you on that. But anyway, keep going.
For sure, brother. The Matrix, it takes a toll. It
sucks you back in.
It does, and I'd come so far up that ladder that I just wanted to take that final step on the ladder and finish it off. Yeah. So I became a little bit disconnected from the Instagram and from a website and from the clothing line, and I started feeling that too. It made me a little bit sad in many ways. And when I came back to California with Savannah, I decided to step my game up, and I got back into it. And I noticed that I wasn't alone. There was many other people on the Instagram now that were pushing the same movement and posting the same posts and had a similar vibe to what I had. And I was pleased to see that some of them were in the California location too. I recall Mr. DMT and Dr. Dre 81.
Yeah, I think I've actually seen both of those accounts.
Yeah, they're great. They're powerful entities, powerful consciousness, and I wanted to meet them. I decided to do something about this, and I wanted to create something with them because I knew they would be, they'd be powerful allies. Based off their feeds, I could feel their energy. I knew they were good people. So I met with both of them, and at different times and different locations, and pitched the same idea to them about maybe creating some sort of event together, a free event where people can show up at any time, and there's just plenty of stuff to do there, and it's an event of awareness that promotes non-violence, veganism, sound baths, Reiki, crystals, all that good stuff, yoga. Mm-hmm. And Dre, being a Kundalini yoga instructor too, he was very interested and very intrigued by the idea. And so we held some meetups, we had a meetup at my place. And next thing we knew, we had a date and a location, and people just started showing up and messaging us, wanting to be a part of it. It really just manifested on its own. I can't take too much credit for it because we totally manifested this together, all of us, not just Dre and Mr. DMT, but everybody who needed this right now. And so Savannah and I worked as much as we could to create the California Consciousness website. to make a new Instagram and try and pull all these people together and create some sort of schedule for the day. And we threw the first event, I believe it was in June, and it was such a wonderful turnout. We had people flying from Kentucky to come. We had people from San Francisco, Arizona, Florida that were all heard about the news. And I guess when something resonates with you, it doesn't matter. You'll move mountains to be there. And it was a powerful day. And I think everybody involved knew how powerful this day was. And ever since then, we just carried that momentum. And the tribe, as we call ourselves now, has just grew stronger and stronger. And we've all came together to keep pushing this movement, to keep creating new events for the people. And it's just beautiful to see. It's such a beautiful experience. Every single one has been so different and so amazing.
I think the exciting thing about it is that you kind of mentioned that it all sort of spawned from this one meeting that you had, and that was sort of a microcosm of what you're doing on a way larger scale now, is setting up, tons and tons of those kind of meetings with different people.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's an exciting thing for sure.
It's just exciting to see, like, all the connections that are made through California Consciousness as well, not just, with us, the tribe, of like bringing it together and having awesome people to work with, but, all the people that come to the events and, they make friends like for life, they make friends and connections and all kinds of things. And our second event, we got to kind of join forces with a lot of the East Coast people that were pushing the same movement, and kind of doing like meeting of the minds.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
It's similar to what we were doing, but it's just not exactly the same. But it was nice to kind of like bring them out here and like just get to know each other and experience, what they're doing, them experience what we're doing, and
we really learned a lot from each other, didn't we?
And exactly, really just learn from each other. So. It's cool, and it's been really cool to see all kinds of things popping up. We have a Florida consciousness that is in the works right now. So
that's what I was going to ask. So do you guys have a process for, say, I'm in the process of moving to Colorado myself. Say somebody is in a different state that has not had any contact with you guys. How do they go about getting in touch and maybe setting something up in their own state?
That'd be great. You can contact myself at jack@caconsciousness.com, and we can talk more about the prospect.
Yeah, I think that, wouldn't that be the goal? Just to kind of have this thing kind of spread as large and far as it possibly could, right?
Oh, most definitely.
That's exactly what we want. It's funny because there's so many like events or companies and stuff that like they're so scared of like their idea getting out, and they want it to be their thing, and we're actually trying to push the exact opposite. We want this to happen worldwide. We want everyone to be able to do this.
The first rule of California consciousness is to tell everybody about California.
Well, that's funny that you said that, because I've actually been through the website talking to people and stuff. There's actually a lot in the LA area of these I won't name any names, but they do have the name consciousness in the word, these so-called like expos and conferences and stuff. But you got to shell out bucks to go to these things. Like it's not something that you can just go to for free for the weekend or for the day. On top of the airfare and motels and everything that they expect you to pay, tickets to the shit is like ridiculous, hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
So what are we accomplishing by that?
Exactly. And in a sense, like, it does make sense what they're doing, because, holding like a space and everything, it is a lot of work. But, when you're doing it for something that's like your passion and something that, about spreading awareness and spreading love and light, it's just a whole nother ball game,
Yeah, no doubt.
It's been so exciting to awesome just to see how this is, growing everyone and growing our own consciousness and just teaching us so much. It's such a great teacher that.
Yeah. Well, you say that it's definitely spreading. I had no connection to you guys prior. I can't even remember. I think I saw pictures on Instagram, because coincidentally you guys were like literally 3 blocks down the road from where I live. In Santa Barbara here recently.
That's crazy.
Yeah, trip out. I didn't find out until after, when I got in touch with you guys, but pretty wild. So how do people find out? Obviously there's the website. Is that the most sufficient way to find out, people in California or other states that want to come to the next event?
We're definitely an Instagram family.
Okay.
So we all connected. There's definitely, I can't take any credit. I wouldn't be anywhere without our team. We're a team. We're a tribe. We do everything together. We hold our meetings together. We all just come together to throw these events. And yeah, we network over the Instagram. So between us, I'd say we have a following of maybe 500,000 or possibly 1 million once you connect all the dots with our family over on the East Coast too.
Oh yeah, no, I easily believe it. I mean, your Instagram alone has above 70,000 followers, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, and that's a platform right there, man. That's more than a lot of these so-called celebrities out there have, or athletes.
Thank you. Humbled and honored to.
Well, that's cool. You're doing good things with it, and it also speaks to the fact that people are hungry for this kind of information, right?
Definitely.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's such a demand, and such little supply for what's going on, and I feel like conscious, awoken individuals are usually the black sheep of the family. So it's a very lonely path. It's a very lonely path to be walking. And
oh yeah, and here we are, sat by ourselves on Christmas Eve, talking about this kind of stuff.
And we all know when we're sitting around a table and we bring up things like veganism and politics and what Christmas is all about, we're going to get funny looks and
I will get laughed straight out the door. It's not even funny anymore. And like I'm talking to people who are like extremely well versed through the website in their areas of expertise, and then I try to bring a little bit of that information to my family in ways that I think are helpful and useful, and I don't do it in like abrasive ways, but they just will laugh at you in the face. It's like
true.
There's a lot of people out there that are still really sick right now, I think.
Yeah.
But that's very good.
And
it makes what you guys are doing very good.
That's it, yeah, to bring us all together. Yeah. And it's a place we can call home. It's a place where our spiritual family can meet together and just share the love. I mean, at the events, people are giving each other massages, people's hairs are getting braided. You just see hugs galore. Everyone's saying "I love you" every 2 seconds, and it's such a magical.
Well, let's get into that a little bit more. I didn't make it to the Santa Barbara one. I didn't find out until afterwards. But what might I have found if I had gone to the one which was just a little less than 2 weeks ago? Correct?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we have an opening ceremony, which is where the tribe introduces itself, and we all come together and start the day off in a very spiritual way with mantras and meditation.
Very cool.
And then after that, we go into Savannah's yoga. Savannah teaches a class on yoga that lasts about an hour, and that's a powerful class because usually there's more than 100 people taking yoga at the same time, and yoga is about union. And there's something about the energy when everybody is doing it together that it just creates such a wonderful space. And then after the yoga workouts, we all lay down into savasana, which is meditation after the yoga, and there's usually a sound bath that takes place straight after with gongs and all different types of instruments and sage. And people just walk around blessing everybody with these sacraments, and it's very relaxing, and it's so beautiful to be in nature with just hundreds of people all laying together, listening to these wonderful sounds.
Yeah, and you guys were at excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but you guys were at La Mesa Park here, which has an amazing view.
Oh
yes.
Yeah,
a beautiful park you guys chose.
We always go for a beautiful view or some place that's like in nature that we really feel grounded, and it helps so much just to be outside all day. Like, it's so great for us.
Which is something a lot of people are missing, I think.
Definitely, and you don't realize it until you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, cool. So keep going. You were saying that you guys do the meditation after the yoga?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it usually goes into some sort of talk. I personally like to give a talk on plant medicines or human connection. I actually taught my first human connection class at the last event in Dana Point, and I got people all giving each other massages in a circle. We had people doing a stare meditation where you have to stare into each other's eyes for 5 or 6 minutes, which is a very powerful meditation. Because you try to resist, and it's so awkward to look into someone's eyes for some reason. And I like to bring that up and ask people, why, what is the awkwardness? Feel the awkwardness and observe the awkwardness, and try and change the awkwardness by setting your attention on unconditional love for that person. And when you're looking at somebody and you're setting your intention on unconditional love, it changes everything. It's very powerful.
Yeah, no, that actually, I'm sitting here thinking about it. That sounds like a pretty powerful exercise.
I tell people it's an advanced class, and I always tell people, be prepared for this advanced class, and people stick around. We got some people that are.
What's the attrition rate? You guys get any people that just get up and walk out?
Yeah, I like to usually start the talk with saying, if you're not prepared to get fully naked, then now's the time to leave. Just to see how tough the crowd is.
No one ever leaves.
So we got a good crowd, that's for sure.
Right on, yeah. That seems like you guys have really collected like a really good group of people at the events that you've had thus far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have talks on organic vegan food and the health crisis and crystals. I know, and just many different activities. Like there's usually we have a hip hop artist right now. He's amazing. I really recommend checking him out.
What's his name? Throw him out there.
D-Rock the Menace. He's
Okay.
fantastic. He's really good. And my brother Dre, he does Kundalini yoga. He likes to finish the day with Kundalini.
Then we also usually have different guest speakers or guest artists that like to come in. We've had a couple of musicians that come in. We have someone who paints mandalas that are really beautiful, and he usually does it live there, like during the event. We have laughter yoga. There's usually...
Wait, I have to pause you there. I need to learn about laughter yoga.
So... yoga, it's really interesting. So it sometimes it's also called laughter meditation. So essentially the teacher will get you to laugh, even if it's fake in the beginning, and you continue because there's healing through laughter, right? So it's just like all different ways that you're just pretty much laughing the whole time, doing all different activities, whether it's acting like an animal or stomping your feet or whatever it may be. It's usually a pretty interesting class. Everyone loves it. So
yeah, I'm into that already.
yeah,
It gets a great response, doesn't it?
definitely. And then sometimes we have just kind of like crystal healing, other types of like meditation that people bring in. There's usually someone there giving like massages and Reiki and
Guided meditations.
Yeah, and like lots of just cool, conscious clothing lines or jewelry and just
if you're gonna
cool
spend
stuff.
money, good places to spend your money, right?
Exactly, and we
So-
always say like, where your vote is casted through where you're spending your money. Wherever you're putting your dollar, that's who you're supporting. So
Oh, for sure it is. Yeah, people don't really take that or appreciate that as much as they should, I think.
exactly. So it's beautiful, and the day it just goes by so quickly. And we always end it in Dre's Kundalini yoga and really just kind of carry out that vibration. And it's awesome because it's not just about us either. It's a place that's all families are welcome, which I think is really important. There's a lot of
Anybody's welcome, right?
Children and everything, huh?
Yeah, and just conscious families who want to know, how do I keep my kids vegan, or how can I share this knowledge with my kids? So we usually have our friends with Mindfulness Box that come. They usually have activities for kids, whether it's making mandalas or they one time they did these little like Zen gardens that they were making. So like they put the sand in and everything. So yeah, it's awesome. It's for the whole family. It's for every type of person, and it's just really beautiful, everything that creates that day. So
Yeah, it seems like you guys pretty much have all the bases covered there. That's awesome. And can we get into, I think you guys might have told me off air when the next event is?
So right now we're kind of just planning the 2016 schedule, and we're actually having another meeting this week to talk about it. I don't want to speak too soon because it's not official, but probably be around February or March.
Cool. And that's obviously do you guys have any idea of a location?
Maybe LA.
Okay.
And we're going to try and get closer to the Bay Area again, or maybe Santa Cruz, somewhere around there. But we'll figure it out. We're going to make sure that we hit up as many locations as possible in 2016.
Yeah, definitely.
it's all about balancing that schedule and making sure that we get around everywhere in ample amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, you guys have got to be expecting like an exponential increase in the people that are going to be coming to these events, right?
Yeah, they just keep getting bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, which is an awesome thing, if, you know, to think about that. You know, as we kind of spoke to a little bit earlier, there's a ton of people out there that are really finding themselves hungry for this kind of information.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing, I was just talking to my friend about this earlier, it's hard to meet in your day-to-day life if you're just doing the normal, you know, system prescribed method of 9 to 5, whatever the case may be. It's hard to meet people in your day-to-day life that you can have these conversations with, because you're probably going to get laughed out of the door in most cases, right?
Totally.
But that's what we're all doing. We're trying to spread the consciousness. I think that's awesome, and I think that what you guys are doing is amazing.
Definitely. Thank you. And that brings me to something that we learned from linking up with our East Coast family meeting at the Mines. They were wonderful, and we came out and we did 2 separate events. They were pretty much the same event, but I feel like California Consciousness kind of ran the show on the first day, and then Meeting at the Mines kind of ran the show on the second day. And that was great because we got to learn from each other. And something that Meeting at the Mines did that really stuck with me was they get people, after the opening ceremony, we form circles of maybe 10 to 15 people in each circle. And everybody shares a little bit about themselves in the circle, who they are, how they got here, when they first woke up. And I think that's wonderful because it's networking, and it helps people connect with other people, you know, with a similar mindset. And who knows what types of things manifest from this networking, from people linking up and meeting up and maybe creating new businesses together.
Oh, yeah, and that's why it's so powerful. I mean, you're going to be feeling the effects. The world is going to be feeling effects from these first few events for years to come. I mean, who knows what like you said, connections you might have made, what networking was done that are going to hook people up for lifetimes, and they're going to create some real positive change in the world via whatever method they choose, you know?
I think it's really important too for people to be able to share, you know, their path and their journey in front of people that are welcoming to it as well. Just like you said with your family that might laugh at it or whatever, we're all used to that, and we all felt so alone. So then once people start to share, they realize they're not alone, and that's the main thing that we're hearing from everybody. And it's great to hear that too, because people have to realize that is happening and accept it and really put positive energy towards it for it to continue to grow, you know?
It's something that I like to talk about on the website a lot, that moment, and it really does seem cheesy to me to call it that you know, that moment of waking up. I think especially if you're coming from an area where you're not woken up, it sounds especially cheesy. But for the life of me, I cannot think of any better way to put it. And when you have that moment of realizing that the vastly popular view of what we're told the way the world works is just completely wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and that can be a kind of a frightening thing, especially when you go to your family members or your friends, and their immediate reaction is just to laugh at you or call you crazy or, oh, you're gullible, or my grandma's favorite one, what are you looking at the internet again? You know? So it's really important to have physical places like, you know, what you guys are doing, because I might provide a place where somebody can, you know, go and sit by themselves and listen to a podcast or, you know, read some writing. But in reality, it's very important for people that are at this place in their life, I think, to have that connection with other people. Like, hey, I'm here. I know too, man, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know.
And you can't hug people over Instagram, unfortunately.
Exactly, right? That's another big part of the problem, is that I, you know, without even speaking to the fact that a lot of people aren't informed, we've become so disconnected.
It's so true. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, well, so can somebody, I mean, I very much get the impression that somebody that's by themselves, say they discovered this online, and they decided that they want to go to the next California Consciousness event. Anybody's welcome, right? They can, you know, go there and feel free to be themselves and obviously learn. And
totally.
Definitely. Everyone's encouraged to come, not just welcome, but encouraged, and we're here with open arms. And we use the same mantra every single time. In the beginning of our ceremonies, we always say, thank you, I love you, I love you. And we say it to each other constantly throughout the day because it's something that needs to be felt, gratitude and love. Those are like the main parts of California consciousness. So even if people are nervous, they're always encouraged, even if they're going to come by themselves, definitely come because you will make friends, you will have a good time, and there's no downside really.
Yeah. Right on. So, well, while we were kind of on the subject, this is something that I do like to ask all of our guests, that moment of waking up that we just kind of talked about. Would either or both of you just kind of get into that moment of when you had that waking up experience?
Now, I talk about plant medicines at the events. That's one of my main things I talk about. And like I said earlier on, I do believe cannabis is a gateway drug to higher consciousness. And I feel it's not the only route, of course, and it's not like you have to take these medicines to get there. But for me, I can only talk from my own personal experience. When I started taking these medicines, like cannabis or like psilocybin mushrooms, I immediately started getting messages, and I don't know where the messages come from. We can say God, we can say the universe, or we can simply say the plants themselves were definitely sending me some sort of messages to wake up, to look around and take a real good look at this world and to see it through a different pair of eyes. And for me, that was that definitely aided me on my journey. If it wasn't for those medicines, I don't know who I would be today or how I would feel about life, because they give me a lot of insights and wisdom. And maybe there's nothing too, spiritual about them, or maybe let's just say there isn't. But for argument's sake, at the very least, they've forced me to sit down and to actually think about life in a way that maybe I wouldn't have thought about life. I questioned the universe. I questioned, our government's motives. I questioned everything. And before...
Wait. You question the government's motives? I'm just joking. My bad. I didn't mean to do that.
No, because a lot of people don't question the motives, or they finally accept authority and just think that, everybody's interest is in everybody's doing what's in the best interest of everybody else. And unfortunately, that's not the case. So a lot of people's interests are solely about themselves and solely about their own life or their own profits. Not everyone out there in the world is about sharing or helping others. And I think the plant medicines help us wake up to these facts and help us become more sharing and more giving.
One thing I think they might do, to speak to what you said, is people are very much about themselves, but I think one of the big issues is that people confuse their ego with their self.
Yes,
and if it may be, I don't know, maybe the human brain, it doesn't have the capacity to sort of have this self-reflection. I mean, I'm sure it does, but in a lot of cases, these plant medicines that you're talking about allow people to have that self-reflection that they don't normally have, especially when they're being bombarded from every direction by the controlled media, and their family members and your friends, that we just have this construct built around us that we seem pretty free if you don't move out of the construct, but as soon as you stick a finger out of it, you're ridiculed.
Mm-hmm. So true. And these plant medicines, they can be fun, of course, they can be recreational, but really I think their mission with humanity is much more important than that. I think these plant medicines can be really difficult at times, and a lot of users have familiarities with the bad trip or the difficult trip. I think it's because it's very self-reflective, as you mentioned earlier. It is a self-evaluation. It's like looking at yourself in the mirror and taking one hard look, and you soon realize your karma and what you've been doing for yourself and the world and how you've been treating others, and it gives you a fresh perspective on everything. And there's only so many times you can look at yourself in the mirror and then before you start realizing that you might want to change certain aspects that maybe are no longer serving you,
A lot of people don't want to look into that mirror,
Yeah.
And I think you're right. A lot of people in our society, we're taught to believe that these plants that were used, like you said, as medicines for thousands of years prior are now Schedule 1 worst possible, of the worst substances you can have, and you got to wonder why is that? Why were these things that were so prevalent in the years prior and centuries prior are now being outlawed and so demonized in our culture?
So it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
In fact, I don't want to name any names here, but I actually just kind of got through the first interview process that I've done for an ayahuasca retreat, and I'm super excited for that. I don't know that you guys have ever worked with that, but I haven't yet, and I'm really looking forward to it.
It's a powerful consciousness.
Definitely.
That's for sure.
Yeah, well, it's something that I've definitely respected, and that's why I've been aware of ayahuasca and things of that nature for years now, but I just feel like I'm finally getting to a point in my life where I'd be able to do that work with the respect that it takes, especially when the average person in the United States is looking at it as a drug, or I'm going to do something to feel good, when in reality it's probably going to be a terrible experience, but you're going to walk out on the other side a lot better, right?
Yeah.
And that brings me to the point of what drugs are doing right now. They're just quick fixes. They don't cure anything. They're just symptom relief.
Exactly.
So you have Xanax for anxiety, you have painkillers, you have the antidepressants, but they don't ever cure the problem. They only just kind of take the symptoms away.
Well, then you end up with 17 problems and you're on 28 medications, but they've got a customer for the rest of their lives,
We have antidepressant drugs where the side effects are suicide. That doesn't make sense whatsoever.
What? I know. I heard that the other day. I was with my dad, and that came on the time. I was like, does that make any sense to anybody here? I mean, I've got a grandfather that's dying of cancer, and nobody in the family, everybody refuses to look at anything alternative. And I know that there's countless other people like that that know that there's other things out there and that don't trust the big pharmaceutical companies or the government. And they're in the same position that I am, where for years I've been screaming at my family. My grandmother, who's a nurse, by the way, literally just inundated by this whole system, just refuses to even look at anything. Things that might have saved his life years ago,
I think once you get to a certain age, it's sort of like, so much programming has been instilled in you, so much fear as surrounding these sorts of, alternative medicines, and it's kind of like you close that door. You're not open to even hearing the information, even if, intuitively you might know deep down. That's why our families get so uncomfortable when we talk about these things.
They've been stigmatized as dangerous drugs. Exactly.
And it's just, and anything about, our conscious spiritual path, really, I feel when people laugh and they get uncomfortable, it's really so much based around fear and, their own ego that society has created for them,
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. It's not even who created it for us, but you're right, it has been created for us.
Yeah. You're told of who you are and how you should act. It's crazy. Yeah, and definitely all of these plant medicines, whether it's psilocybin or ayahuasca, there's so much that can be learned from it. It's so powerful, really, in waking you up.
But then we get stoner sloth commercials. Did you guys happen to see that in the news yesterday or today? There's some commercial that was all over. I don't know. I happened to see it on Reddit, and it's this sloth that is apparently a stoner, and the whole commercial is, don't smoke weed or you're going to be like a sloth, and this sloth doesn't do anything. And it's just taking a half an hour to pass the potatoes or whatever. That's what we get in our society. Don't use this or you're just going to be a shithead. Take all these pills that we're doling out to everybody.
It's so true.
It is a madhouse over here, but that's why what you guys are doing is so important. Seriously, it's really when we first got on, you were kind of speaking about it. When you had your break from things, you kind of got back onto Instagram and your other social media and the other avenues that you've been working on, and you saw that the strength of the people that were looking for truth had grown, right?
Definitely.
That's the same exact experience I had, tenfold. I sort of really pulled myself out of this thing. I didn't check the website email for probably 9 months, and I wasn't even paying attention to the news or anything. I just got so caught up in the whole thing. And I come back and I start talking to some people and stuff, and I'm just constantly blown away at what's happening every day. And then I run into you guys and what you guys are doing, and that's just incredibly inspiring.
Thank you. And it's inspiring to be a part of what you're doing today as well. And,
well, it's just I think people, young and old, from all over the world are seeing that things are not the way that they should be, and that everybody needs to do whatever they can within their capabilities to change it. And I think that we're only going to see more and more of that, which is like an exciting thing. I really think we're in an exciting time to live, to say the least. Well, let's talk about Savannah, your moment of waking up.
Well, I feel like it's hard to really pinpoint exactly the moment, but I feel like there was a couple of them. So the main time that it first happened was back in 2012 when we started really using plant medicine, and I had that same sort of like ego death. I'm not who I thought I was. Yeah. Neither was anything else. We're all connected. We're all the same. Sort of realizations through a couple of experiences I had, and it was so deep and impacted me in so many ways, from making a deeper connection with my family, and everything just made me such a better person in general. And from then, like I said, I went to India on my own without Jack, and living in a country like that for a little while was it was very challenging, very rewarding, and very just all around. It was a spiritual experience, every single part of it. And there I was taught so much about, mantras and meditation, and just going within and learning so much about who I am and what's going on in this world. And that was the first time that I went so deep into meditation. I actually had a psychedelic experience. And just before that, I had done ayahuasca as well. And I had such an ass kicking from it. It showed me, I just went through so much of, not necessarily of my own pain, but past lives, and so much that had to be released that was inside of me that I didn't even realize was there, and just cleared out so much clutter, I guess I could say. And right before going to India, so it was perfect timing, really. And and then while I was there, kind of learned how to do that without plant medicine, and I've just passed that on. And so much, with my yoga practice of, being able to teach. When you start teaching something, you really start to understand it and really learn for yourself as well. Even when you thought you knew something, you teach it over and over again, you learn it in a different way because you have to teach it in a different way. So
you have to become probably a lot more obviously a lot more learned in the fundamentals of things, right?
Yeah, and because my yoga certification was in India, so much was about the yogi philosophy and kind of the yogi lifestyle. So cutting out certain things in my diet, whether it was a sattvic diet, which is very strict on the spices and everything that you're intaking, and just realizing that your body is a temple, and just honoring the vessel that your soul is enshrined in, and just really I feel like that India was such a big impact, but I feel like I didn't even realize it when it was all happening. So
right.
Yeah, the India and ayahuasca and everything was all in one short time period of my life. And then as soon as I came back to California, I was just a new person, I wasn't hanging out with the same people I once was. I was just more interested in how I can go deeper in meditation and do more with my yoga practice, and silence my thoughts, and, just really go into all that. And
how weird is it that a human being would become more interested in themselves than all of the stuff on the magic box in the living room, right?
Exactly. And it was kind of a different kind of self as well. Before psychedelics, it was more of self of I'm so great, I'm better, I'm this, in comparison. Whereas once, I began to eradicate my ego, which not to say it's completely gone, it definitely comes back when it wants to. I began to learn how to better myself in a way that I can be more loving, or I can give more, or I can share more. And in a sense, I started to realize that, because we're all connected, we're all one, the better that I made myself as a person rather than the external uh, person, the better that the world was becoming, because of the conscious collective. And like I said, California Consciousness has been such a great teacher for me, and really like something that I would suggest if anyone is kind of thinking, hey, I want to have this spiritual awakening, I want to go deeper and learn more about myself, or how can I really start meditating? I think your first step would be to either read or listen to the audiobook The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. That was just a serious experience for me. Actually, the first time I listened to it, I was on plant medicine, but helped because I was focusing on it and I listened to a lot of it at once. However, I have it on my iPhone, and anytime I'm in the car and I'm in traffic or whatever, I start to get stressed out or something's getting overwhelming or whatever, I kind of put that audiobook back on. And it really brings you into the present moment. Eckhart Tolle is a great author, and he really puts it into just like the simplest terms of how to kind of disconnect from the mind, or I connect the mind with the ego and connect back with your heart and your soul, because those are kind of, corresponding to each other. So that was a really great way for me, and it's taught me so much, and I constantly refer back to it and a lot of other work by Eckhart Tolle, but that was something that was really big in my spiritual path as well.
You guys are awesome, because you literally just kind of rolled me into the exact next question that I was going to ask. In fact, I think you might have asked it or answered it for yourself. Well, I was just going to ask, so for anybody out there that might be listening to this for the first time, or maybe they stumbled upon the podcast, I've actually begun recently sharing my stuff on Facebook, for better or worse, so if somebody happened to, is coming along this stuff for the first time, and maybe they're a little bit confused, they don't understand why they should be conscious, what consciousness is. If there was something that you could point somebody to, and I'm going to ask this of the both of you, whether it be a documentary or, something spoken word, like you just mentioned, anything like that, what would you point somebody in the direction of, or multiple things, to wake them up, as it were?
Well, definitely to higherconsciousness.com.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness,
no. I mean, that's not even a laughing thing. You guys really do, like I said earlier, have a ton of great writers over there. How many writers do you have?
I believe there's 6 or 7 now.
Yeah, I noticed. I just kind of, like I said, I just got in touch with you guys, so I was briefly going over your stuff over the last week or so, and I was really, really impressed with the blog and with the kind of information that you guys are putting out there.
Oh, thank you. Well, to touch back on my awakening too.
Yeah.
I think one of the first things I did actually watch was Zeitgeist.
Of course, that's a big one.
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, whether all the things presented in that documentary are true or false, it definitely opens the mind up to new theories and a different way of looking at life, and that definitely made me realize some things on my own. Other things I would recommend, for spirituality, I can't recommend Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds enough. That is a very, very powerful series. I believe there's 4 parts to that series, but that was one of the most wonderful things I think I've ever seen. So that's, in terms of spirituality, I definitely recommend Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds for sure. Thrive is also a great watch.
That's funny, man. That's my go-to. That's actually what I was going to bring up.
Very powerful. Powerful too.
And on that note, real quick, before you continue, I just want to mention that, like, you said that, maybe not everything in Zeitgeist, may be truth. And I think that it's important that we note that I think that, I don't want to say truth movement, consciousness movement, whatever this is, we're still sort of in our infancy. We're gaining our legs. So there's no ultimate truth out there. If people are wanting that, like, I want a 2-hour movie that's going to tell me everything and lay it out exactly. That's not available. But there are, like you've been listing, a lot of good resources that people can go to. And Thrive is actually my number one. Like, if there's somebody that I'm talking to that I think is ready for that information, I just say, go watch Thrive. It's free. It's on YouTube. I actually have a couple of the DVDs that are probably gathering dust on family's bookshelf somewhere. But yeah, thrive is really good. But yeah, anyway, continue.
And like you said, like I think that's something that really has been one of our main practices throughout all of this is to always keep an open mind, always continue asking questions, you know? Even if something that really resonated with us at one point and it doesn't later, really not letting the ego get attached to it and just kind of accepting it and moving on to new information is what's really important for us as well.
Exactly. We all have to use our individual discernment, our intuitiveness, because I mean, even for me, all of this kind of stuff has been my life since I got out of the military 5 years ago. For better or worse, I've become obsessed with a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it is contradictory. This guy says don't listen to this guy, but they're saying 95% of the same thing, and this guy's a shill, but that guy's not. And you really have to, like I said, use your discernment and find what works for you and what you trust the most. And like Savvy just said, continue on. Move on to more information. Find what works for you.
Having a mind that's open to anything,
Exactly,
is definitely a great aid. And I feel like the truth too is whatever resonates with your heart. You know, I feel like we realize the truth for ourselves. No one can really, you know, only people. You can only be pointed to the truth, you know, but you can't be shown it. You can be pointed in the direction, but you know, the truth is, you know, your own journey, and I think it's very important.
That's beautiful. I've never thought about it that way, because how many times have you or Savannah or I sent a video to a family member or I mean, God, I've bought countless DVDs and books and all this stuff, and it's right there. It's in black and white. They might even watch it or read it, but they're just not ready for it. They'll find any excuse they can accept that.
I think I've actually bought my mom The Power of Now probably in 3 different versions. Probably a couple times. I feel like she's pretty sick of it, but I'll just keep trying, and I think that's super important, just always to keep trying, you know, because eventually they do listen, they do watch the documentary, they do read it, even if they don't admit to it, it will push them to think outside the box.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jack.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Exactly.
But I love that too. I think it's about leading by example too. The more we try and tell somebody or impose our views on somebody else, probably the more resistant or you know they will be. That's to if you go around pushing veganism in people's faces or telling them that their religion is wrong, they're probably just you're gonna strengthen that ego. You're not gonna break it down. But by remaining humble and just doing our own thing without pushing it in anyone's face, and just people aren't stupid. They see that something is working for you clearly, and then they start to question themselves, like, whoa, wow, they're really happy, they're really successful. What is it about that person that makes them so happy and so successful? And then they ask you the questions.
Exactly. And I experience that in my life all the time. I mean, I will post things on Facebook and get publicly like ridiculed in the comments, and then get twice as many messages directly from people. Hey, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Exactly. Or can you hook me up with this woman? Because I mean, I've talked to people in alternative health, and I'll post the video, and I'll have people who will almost in the same breath tell me I'm wacko, ask me how they can get in touch with the woman that I was just talking to, you know? And it's like, come on, people.
I love that too, because that reminds me of why I started Too High Consciousness in the event. Because I did feel like a wacko, you know, a few years ago, and I did post things myself on Facebook to be ridiculed, and it didn't feel like it was doing any justice. I felt like I was posting these posts, and you know, they weren't really having the effect that I really wanted them to have. And then I started the Instagram, and I was totally, you know, I was totally anonymous. I didn't show my face. I didn't do anything like that. And this account just blew up because the stuff I was sharing really resonated with a number of people.
And it does, and there's people out there that absolutely will not talk about it in their day-to-day lives. They won't admit that they've looked into certain things, or they won't admit that they're even interested in certain things. But on their free time, when they're sitting in a doctor's office on their cell phone, or while they're at home, you know, after their day of work, they're watching these same weird documentaries I'm watching, you know. And more so every day. I feel like there's without a doubt, and it's something that we talk about on the website a lot, there is some sort of awakening going on right now, and you can't really deny it anymore.
Yeah. And I think it's really important for people to feel like they found these things out for themselves and that they've kind of come across it on their own, which is why we like to continuously direct people to higherconsciousness.com.
Yeah.
All of the things that we've been talking about are on the recommendations page onto Higher Consciousness, and there's constantly going to be more recommendations as our knowledge grows of these things. And another thing that is really important to mention, there's 2 documentaries. The first is Vegucated, and the second is Earthlings. Mm-hmm. Now, if you know of either of these documentaries, they're Cowspiracies, yes.
Wait, what was that term? I didn't catch that.
Cowspiracy.
Okay, yeah. I've seen Vegucated. I have not seen the other one.
Cowspiracy is on Netflix.
Cowspiracy is on Netflix. Earthlings is also linked on the To Higher Consciousness recommendations page. And those 2 in particular, Earthlings really is the documentary that forced us to go vegan. So
forced.
Not forced, but like really.
No one was holding a gun to us.
No one was holding a gun to us. It's, if you can watch that movie or that documentary and not go vegan, I don't know. I don't know.
That's the agenda. That's their thing. But for me, to my realization for veganism, and I don't want to push veganism on anybody. I feel
no. I mean, hey, you're preaching to the choir here.
I feel like it's everybody's sovereign right to make their own decisions, in life. However, for me, I like to consider myself an intelligent, compassionate person, and I realized, how could I consider myself intelligent knowing that my diet is destroying myself and the world, and how could I ever claim to be compassionate when I'm allowing an animal to suffer its entire life just so it can enjoy 5 minutes of mine?
Yeah. And we're taught here that, if you're a real manly man, then you think it's cool. Oh, no, going out and killing your animal for your food and stuff.
And it's funny because I've never felt as manly as I did after going vegan, because I felt totally, a grown-up thing to do, a very difficult but mature choice to make.
That's very true, very true.
And this was around the same time that we started To Higher Consciousness that we made this shift. And I feel like then there wasn't many vegan places. There wasn't many vegan options. My parents thought it was just a phase. Like our whole family thought it was just a phase.
Yeah, it's always just I could believe me. I get the same thing.
Yeah. As it's gone on, like originally, like I was seeing the documentaries, I just thought, oh my gosh, I cannot take part in this slaughtering anymore. I can't. Knowing that these things are going on, I cannot shut that off and just continue to live this life for my own benefit. Not only that, as it's gone on, I feel like a lot of people, their argument against veganism is, there's all these health benefits for this, or where are you going to get your protein, or
that's the big one. That's the big one.
It's so stupid because honestly, it's not even about us anymore. It's seriously not. Even though these things are so important, maybe that's not something that's going to resonate with you, for the listeners out there, just about the animals. But literally, if we don't all start taking part in, cutting out meat out of our diet and really, and dairy and, all these things, we're not going to have Earth anymore. We're not going to have this home anymore because we're going to continue chopping down all these areas to grow cattle farms. And not only that, the pollution that's coming from all these cattle is way worse than anything that is coming off of our cars. And that is just a whole nother topic in itself. But that's the thing I'm trying to push for people to understand is it's not about us anymore. It's not just about us. It's not just about your own health. It's not just about the little things, but it's about the big picture. We're not going to have so many things that we need on this planet if we don't.
We're going to go extinct.
Well, the thing is that what we're doing is, and nobody can question it, is what we're doing is not sustainable. But then that's where superhero Monsanto flies into the picture. They're saving us.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the general public eats this up. I mean, on that same note, this was a few years ago when you guys were probably here. Actually, I think it was in 2012. The right to know GMO labeling was on the ballot in California.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have my one grandmother who's like this old, like, rich conservative lady. And I'm like really super stoked for this right to know bill, and from all, you know, everything that I could see, it was getting ready to be passed. Everybody was for it. Everybody I talked to was for it. Even people that weren't so much involved in the stuff that I was involved with, who doesn't want their food labeled like that, you know? About a week before the actual vote happened, I'm over with my grandma and I'm trying to talk to her about this issue, and she pulls out this pamphlet and goes, like, laughs at me. "You're crazy. Look here. It says this is all good and they're saving the world and they're feeding everybody." It was from fucking Monsanto. It was a Monsanto pamphlet telling you how good their shit was, and people are eating it up. And they broke the law by sending that to all the voters and putting the FDA stamp on it. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, and
it's crazy, and people eat it up.
It's an easy option. It is easy. It's way easier if you think about it. Like, you're gonna go to the grocery store and you're gonna buy, you know, a bunch of meat and a bunch of GMO food. Not only is it probably going to be, you know, cheaper in the short run, but, you know, you don't have to think. You know, it's mindless. You know. Whereas, you know, when you're really paying attention to what is going into your body, whether that's, you know, what energy is going into your body, because whatever happened to those animals, whatever happened in their life, the cruelty that they experienced, the pain in their death, that's all that energy is going into your body, you know, and
you're making new cells from it.
Exactly.
And we know that I think as modern day 2015 human beings, we sort of discount a lot of the ancient, especially religious practices. But we know that in a lot of these ancient religions, and even practiced still to this day, they very much are conscious of what they're putting into their body and how what they're putting into their body is killed, I guess you'd say.
And I think that's how it's justified too, because humans have ate meat throughout history for the longest time. But that's because it really aids us in our evolution. We didn't have the technology available that we do today then. And, you know, when you're in survival mode and it becomes winter time, and all the fruits and all the vegetables disappear because it's winter, and you have nothing to eat. You know, meat is powerful. You can hunt meat and you can cook it and you can survive and you can see the winter through. But now it's just become a recreational thing to go to McDonald's and just get yourself a cheeseburger for like 99 cents.
I would say that it was recreational decades ago. For a lot of families in 2015, it's almost mandatory because they can't afford anything else, especially in America. I mean, I shouldn't say especially in America, but for the choices that we have here, which of course McDonald's is pushed on every corner, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no wonder we have the worst health in the world.
But it's so crazy. People forget how cheap bananas are.
Right. Yeah, I don't even know. A lot of people in America don't even know what bananas are, to be honest with you.
I know.
I've had a raw trail mix. It's $6 for this raw trail mix, so it seems expensive to get this raw trail mix or organic raw trail mix, but it's lasted me maybe 3 or 4 days now.
Yeah.
And I've been eating that every day for breakfast, and once you start making these diet choices, you realize how much little food you actually need to survive.
Yes.
It's you really don't need that much.
Yeah, well, I mean, anybody that's lived outside or visited outside of the United States can speak to how big our portions are here.
Yes,
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Especially we went to England we were there for like a year, and I always knew, okay, the portions are big, whatever, you know. But when I came back, I was shocked. I'm shocked, like, just looking like, how does someone eat this thing? Like, I mean, now me and Jack will pretty much share most of our meals, but you know, it is crazy.
Waste. Whether it's going down their throat or it's just being tossed in the trash can, it's a waste.
Exactly. And you know, instead of
we take everything home for leftovers.
Yes, we do. I love leftovers. But it's so important, really, like, you know, I've been learning a lot that with our food, you know, sometimes we're eating and it's not because we're hungry, but because we're craving all the drugs that are in our food these days, like salt, like sugar.
And can you distinguish between the feeling of a craving for food and a craving for a substance? I mean, I can, right? Your body just has this craving, and then our mind fills in whatever we think that might be. At least in my opinion. I mean, that's why people that quit smoking gain a bunch of weight, right? They're trying to fill that void there.
Yeah. People aren't hungry because people crave, they're craving a cheeseburger, or they're craving ice cream, or they're craving cheese, or whatever it is they're craving. And they're saying, "Oh, I'm starving. I'm so hungry. I'm going to get a McDonald's." And if you say to that person, "Here, eat these tomatoes, or eat this, this fruit, or eat these nuts," they go, "Ooh, no." It just proves that they're not hungry. They're craving the drugs that are in these foods.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Well, I did want to ask you. So, you're from outside of the United States, obviously. Mm-hmm. What is the perspective of, at least from where you're from, of the United States? I guess just in general. I mean, to someone that is, quote unquote, woken up in this country, you see how maddening everything is, and how crazy and calculated the government and the controllers are. What's the opinion from the outside? I mean,
honestly, I believe that the whole Western world is the same. I've traveled many different parts of the world, Western world at least, and I feel they're very similar. Westerners are very ignorant.
There seems to be something done with in the United States. I mean, we have an incredible health problem. I mean, does that problem exist in the UK?
I believe so. Yeah, I think the only difference really is the fact that the UK medical care is free. I think it makes a huge difference because over here life's a struggle, because if you get sick or something goes wrong, you're going to have to shell out all this kind of money, and that's kind of always worry hanging over your head. And I feel like at least in England you don't really have those kind of concerns. If you do get sick or you get unwell, it's very reassuring to know that you're going to be taken care of, and it doesn't matter what your financial background is. And it's the same for Canada as well. And I think I feel like America's very behind in that department. I feel like that has to change, because there's sick people all over America that desperately need attention, and they can't afford it. And I think that's a cruel, when other countries are doing it and having no problems with a free healthcare system.
No, I'm in full agreement with you there. I think that we do have to be careful on who we allow to bring in some kind of healthcare system like that, because we have this thing of Obamacare here in the United States, which from all appearances seems to just be another
insurance
mechanic, or it's a thing of control. It's control.
It's like preparing for microchips is what it is.
Yeah, which sounds completely off the cuff and crazy to the average person, but I mean, are we not heading down that road?
I think that I read an article recently about how everything that's happening in our movies, everything that's happening, even though it might be fiction, a lot of it is funded by certain entities.
The CIA has a Hollywood office.
Exactly.
Go look on their website. It's there.
Exactly.
Just as I'll speak to what you're saying, but please continue.
That's how powerful the media is.
Yeah, and
it's not even called the PR office. It's called like the Office of Hollywood Relations or something.
That is ridiculous.
Hello, NSA and CIA, by the way. I hope you guys don't mind that we have some guests.
So, I mean, it's a way for us to get comfortable with these ideas, whether it's microchips, whether it's, I don't know if I should name all the things I'm going to name right now, but I'm just going to go for it. Whether it's, reptilians, whether it's vampires, or, all these different things that we're being shown to become comfortable with, whether it's eating meat or all these different things, and lots of war glamour. There's so much
100%
is what it is. It's not really war,
propaganda.
Really.
It's propaganda. Yeah. I mean, go watch Zero Dark 30 or American Sniper. Tell me it's not propaganda.
I won't even watch
Plus,
it.
the United States government recently legalized propaganda, as if they weren't doing it, otherwise. But yeah, they've made it legally available for them now.
And to go back to your question about what does the world see, how the world sees America right now, I really, it's very difficult for me to say this really, but I really do feel like the world is looking at America like it's Nazi Germany right now. They're going around.
People don't realize that. People think you're crazy for even saying that, but it is.
It's it's almost like treason to suggest it, but it's so true. I mean, these poor countries, are struggling, with bombs and genocides and. And we have to stop. We have to wake up. The soldiers, maybe need some THC and need healing.
I found it really, it was shocking for me to be living, in another country and hearing it so much and, about how America's this and America's that and we're all stupid and we're all this. And, you know, although many of those things are true for a lot of the United States of America, I feel like it's kind of messed up too because it's happening just as much in other places but in different ways, and really because America's kind of gotten this name of obesity and war and all these things. Everyone thinks, oh, it's just America's so horrible, America's this, America doesn't have free healthcare, and there's all these things, but in reality there's all these things are happening in different countries, like
well, we're the
world, just in different ways. Like I seen plenty of obesity while I was in England. It's just a different type, it's a different way of thinking. And really what's important is not to get involved with all these things either. Is sometimes we get caught up in the world's so fucked and there's so many things wrong. But really what we are doing with California consciousness and what we're doing just as humans with our, whether it's through Instagram or just in day-to-day life, is kind of trying to get away from that fear aspect, because yes,
you need to get away from that. You're right.
Yeah, there are so many things going wrong, totally, but there's so many things going right. And it's important for us to start tipping that scale, bringing in that balance back into the world, whether it's, that the fact that, we've been in this masculine energy, which isn't to say that male energy is bad. It's just that it's been overpowered. And now this feminine energy is coming into the world, and it's creating so much compassion. It's creating love, and people are waking up and people are feeling welcome. So it doesn't matter whether you still eat meat. It doesn't matter whether all these things that we've been talking about. If you're still on that path, you haven't made these changes, it's never too late. It's always important for you to just take one step at a time. Find something that really is pulling on your... Exactly. There's no judgment.
Nobody's anybody, right?
Right. And whatever it is that's pulling on your heartstrings, maybe that's, you want to get more into meditation. Maybe that's through veganism. Maybe that's through yoga, whatever it may be, or just writing or learning things about what's going on in the world. What's important is that you're taking that first step, whatever it may be. As long as you're moving forward and constantly learning, you're on the right path,
Exactly.
And it's so important for us to keep remembering that and reminding people, because I find myself so much in day to day, we know all these things are happening, and I feel like it's like first you get angry, right? You get up and then you get upset, and then you have to do something about it. But it's so important for you to shift into that loving mindset of, there is a chance for humanity. There is a chance for America. There is a chance for the Western world and the Eastern world to wake up, to, spread this awareness. And it has to take, us really believing that and manifesting that into this reality.
Yeah, no, I mean, I literally couldn't have said any of that better myself. I mean, I think you guys are nailing it. You guys are doing really big things with California consciousness. I know that even without the help of whoever's listening, and I know that there's people listening right now that are going to help support the new group or the new events, the events coming down the road. But without any of the support that I might be able to, to offer, I know that you guys are doing something that I mean, there's no stopping it now. You guys are doing it. You guys are in that wave right now. You've created something big, and that's important. And it's important that people listening and everybody out there knows that they can do something just as big if they wanted.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And that's how the world's going to change, in my humble view.
I definitely agree.
I think so.
Very cool. Well, geez, I could probably talk to you guys until the sun came up tomorrow. But just to wrap it up so that this one stays within some reasonable time frames here, I kind of wanted to just get, how do people get involved with what you guys are doing? I mean, obviously there's the website. The links are going to be available to anybody listening. California Consciousness, caconsciousness.com, I believe.
Yeah, there's contact forms on all the websites that all the URL links that we provided. There's contact forms on all our sites. If anybody wants to, get in touch, you can contact either me or Savannah, and we'll reply as fast as we can. And anybody's invited. This is not something that's us and them. This event is everybody's event. Nobody owns it. There's no ownership here. Yeah, everybody's welcome, and if anybody wants to share their gifts or craft or just come along and do their thing, we encourage you, we welcome you with open arms. Come and share your talents with humanity, and whatever that may be. It can be anything from like hair tying or massage or whatever it is. We welcome you.
Perfect. Savannah, any parting words for everybody?
Yeah, I think if you don't have an Instagram, definitely go out and make one, and try and follow these accounts that we've been talking about, because it's just constant little reminders, constant little pushes of day-to-day life of how you can really bring this into your reality, and it's really a great platform for us. And we're always open, as Jack said. We will always respond to anything that's needed in given time, and I would just love to have everyone experience California consciousness. And if you're interested in yoga, I teach some free classes in Long Beach by donation. I post that on my Instagram as well on Wednesdays and Sundays at 11:11. And that's another great place for you to just kind of meet people and stay connected. And I just am looking forward to all these new people that we're going to meet in 2016, and just everything. We're always open to suggestions, and thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you guys. We're sitting here on Christmas Eve, but I very much look forward to following what you guys are doing. I know that you guys are going to continue to grow. We're definitely going to have you guys back on before the next thing in February, and thank you guys very much for joining us, and I definitely look forward to having you guys back.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
I love you. I love you.
All right, how cool was that? We definitely need more people like Jack and Savannah out there. I know you guys are out there. I know there's probably some of you listening, so I hope that you all were able to be inspired by what people like Jack and Savannah are doing. And, like they said, to support them, get involved, check out their Instagram accounts. They're at 2 Higher Consciousness, at Yoga Savvy, and at CA Consciousness. And on the same note, the websites are 2higherconsciousness.com, yogasavvy.us, and caconsciousness.com. The links should be available, below wherever you're watching or listening to this in the show description. So get involved, check them out. That's it for me today. Like I said, I hope that you all are enjoying your holidays, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Definitely keep your eyes peeled to wherever you listen to the podcast, whether that be on iTunes or YouTube, or if you just check the website occasionally, because 2016 is going to be a big year for us and for the world, honestly. I hope that you guys enjoy what's left of your year, and we'll see you in 2016. Catch you next time on the Vibin Higher Podcast.